Hello and welcome to the method section APA style in our series about APA. In the last video we already finished with the introduction. I hope you found it useful, and today we have a lot of information about the method. Generally speaking, the purpose of the entire method section is to allow a reader to judge the appropriateness of the data collection process and, if desired, to replicate the study. So you need to make sure to include whatever detail is necessary for comprehension and or replication. Now the APA manual says the following: insufficient detail leaves the reader with questions. Too much detail burdens the reader with irrelevant information. So it is important that you find a balance about the information you are going to include in the method section. This section typically consists of three subsections: participants, materials, and procedure. And of course I'm going to explain this in greater detail one by one. So the first one, participants. Here you have to include basic demographic information, including gender, for example the number and or the percentage of male and female participants. Ethnicity, if it's necessary for you to include. So for example, if you are trying to say to investigate the differences between the math self-efficacy of students with African American background and the Native Americans, then you should include this information in the participant subsection. And also where appropriate socioeconomic status, disability status, sexual orientation, and so on and so forth. So this is some basic information that you should include. Additionally, in this part, if any participants were excluded from the study, you need to explain why. So you need to describe the criteria for inclusion and report the final sample size. As you can see here, I already typed some examples in order to save time. So let's go with the first example of the participant subsection. So the sample was composed of 50 randomly selected high school science classes from Germany and 32 randomly selected classes from the German-speaking part of Switzerland. So in this part that I am highlighting right now, you should also say if the sample was randomly selected or how the participants were selected. This is very important. So this is one example, it's very general. Let's see another one. In this one that I just highlighted, the example number 2, you can see the total of participants here. Now the number of females and males without the percentage, and in this case this study was conducted in 2 universities. So here the number of the University of Munich and here the number of the University of Berlin. Now here is the mean age, 26.6, and the standard deviation. Now make sure to always include a space where you are writing this. Do not do this. This is wrong. You have to write standard deviation is D space equals space and the number. The same if, for example, you're going to say n equals in this case 1176. See, here's the spaces, you have to use them. Okay, so let's see the next example. And 224 German 9th graders, 50% females. In this case, since this is 50% females, it is not necessary that you write 50% male. This is something that is a bit obvious. Of course, you never use this word in science, but I think in this case you can avoid using it. But it's up to you if you want to include 50% females, 50% males. Here, mean age, you have to include the space, and here already you know spaces after and before the equal sign. So here in this example you are also writing a little bit about the materials, but it's okay. Now let's talk about the material subsection. So this subsection should briefly describe the materials used to collect the data that tests your hypothesis. So if you are using a questionnaire, if you're using a test, if you developed a scale, if you developed a test, and or if you are basing the items or your test on a scale written by another researcher, and so on and so forth. So you have to give enough information to allow another investigator to obtain or create the materials needed to replicate your study. So yeah, you have to include the total number of items or questions, the different types of items, if they are Likert type, open-ended, and so on and so forth. So we have two examples. So the first is here. A survey was constructed in use that contains 6 simple yes or no questions dealing with these things. And in this case, see appendix. If you are writing a thesis, you have to include this as an appendix. In the case of papers, usually you just include a sample of the instrument or the complete instrument. So just keep that in mind. Now another example here. So we have the dimension hate and love was measured with a 5-point Likert scale ranging from 1 strongly disagree to 7 strongly agree. Perceived hate was assessed by having participants rate the photo on the desk on 7 items, and you write the items here. Of course, this might be part of the procedure, but it's up to you. Here, although in the method section you do not discuss results, you can write here the internal consistency, the Cronbach's alpha of your items. If you adapted the scale from another researchers, as I said before, you have to credit them. In this case, for example, perceived loft was assessed on 7 items, blah 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 blah, and after a semicolon inside the parentheses you say adapted from, and you quote the source. And again, you can write about the Cronbach's alpha and the internal consistency. As for the procedure section, here you summarize the steps taken in the data collection process, so including the process and the procedures used to form groups. So you have to describe the types of classes from which participants were recruited, and so on. So the dates and times data collection occurred. So the usual style is to describe things in chronological order from beginning to end. So this usually describes the design of the research as well. I just included one example in the procedure subsection. So you can see here that in this example I'm writing that the participants had to fill a sheet of paper. how many time was given, what was the task that they had to accomplish in this time, what was done after this initial time frame, and so on and so forth. So this is like a log of how the study was conducted. Now, a quick note about the material section. Sometimes you find something called apparatus, and this is only used when you are using computers or some equipment. So, for example, if you developed a software, a game or something to test the participants, you have to say here a computer-based game was used in order to blah blah blah. And that's pretty much all about the method section. This is a bit short, and next time we'll do a lot of time talking about the results section, how to format tables, figures, and so on and so forth. So thank you very much for watching now, and see you in the next video.